Yeah. Oh man, right now, I this is so random, but I'm on this trail in my woods, and this little vole is just like out, kind of watching me, like right on the trail that I'm on. This little gray guy. He's very cute, and he's not acting super afraid or curious.
Yes, and many children see them too. About 75% of the world's children today are being born with etheric vision. And when your children talk with people and have daydream playmates, the chances are they are actually speaking to some of these people. Because these angels or angelic forces or nature spirits, as they're often called, will often make themselves seen.
And all of a sudden I hear him go, whoa, or, something like that. So I look up, and as I look up, I see this thing.
And I said, I've never seen a butterfly like you before.
I know that the paranormal is real. Listen.
As soon as I spoke to it, it turns around and makes eye contact with me. And then it stands upright.
And it was at that moment that I saw it was like an orange light appear above this row of trees. And from this sort of orange light, this thing appeared. Its wings were actually like sycamore leaf shaped.
And I started talking to them. I'm like, hi, are y'all the dwarves? And I would hear whispers that would say, hi, yeah, you want to play? And it wasn't just my imagination. And I had told them, I'm like, my dwarves, they like beer, And my dad's like, yeah, sure, your dwarves like beer. And they were holding a conversation, and his beer slid upwards instead of downwards, how the house was tilted. And him and my brothers jumped up.
So I stopped calling out Adam, and I'm just kind of, my mind draws a blank, and I stop behind that tree stump. I'm pretty close to it now because I took a few steps forward, and I see this thing.
Wow.
So there's that.
That reminds me a lot of Frozen Wolf and her cat ending up inside the locked boiler room door when they got home one day, inexplicably.
I remember hearing that story. Yeah. Wow, I didn't even think of them as being the same, but yeah, it's kind of same frantic energy, I guess.
Also, they can take your pets. They can grab your glasses and your bunny or cat.
Yeah. Or your barbecue sauce. So this next event that happened was way more weird. And okay. Oh, another truck. I'm sorry.
Or your barbecue sauce. It just got me dying. It's so good.
Yeah. This is one of a lot of people in my family know this story. The other ones are a little more crazy, and I don't know. This one I was just like, this is unreal. I have to tell you about the barbecue sauce. I used to call it the barbecue sauce time slip because I didn't have a better name. But I think it was more like a portal. So I had made myself some food. It was like chicken nuggets or something. And they were on my plate. I had some barbecue sauce on the plate. I dunked one of them into the barbecue sauce, and a humongous glob of it just splashed right off. And, of course I figured it would have fallen on the floor. So, sorry, I'm very out of breath right now. This story makes me feel A lot of things. Okay. Dipped the chicken nugget into the barbecue sauce. A huge wad of it flung off. Should have landed on the floor. I didn't see it anywhere. It was nowhere because I looked. And I was like, well, maybe it's in my hair. So I put the chicken nuggets down, went to the bathroom and looked in my hair, and there was nothing there. I was like, well, maybe it flung up really high and maybe it's on my ceiling. And at the time, my ceiling was white. I've since painted it dark gray, but at the time it was white. So I would have seen a huge blob of barbecue sauce on the ceiling or in my hair or on my clothes. It was nowhere. And so I was like, well, that was bizarre. So I picked my food back up. And as soon as I was bringing one to my mouth, a gigantic blob of barbecue sauce just fell right on my wrist from nowhere, from like right behind me. It was like it was spit out of a portal.
Huh?
And
Wow.
yeah.
So like, it's like a delayed barbecue sauce reaction.
Yeah. I don't know what to call this, but out of everything I've ever experienced, that's one of the most weird and oddly like tangible, like all of these moving parts, and I was touching all these things and I moved out of the room and it was like bizarre.
Honestly, talking with you is so helpful because there was so many elements of what was going on when I was doing this like weird. After the power went out, things just got so weird over here, Brett. This is all in a roundabout way getting back to your answer about the dream. My dream was, but I like, so my power was out and like I was like, sorry, I want to ask more about barbecue sauce in a second, but you're totally bringing up what my mindset was with the way that you're describing the total like inability to understand what's going on. So when my power went out, I was convinced that the fire alarms the day before and the power going out was all related. I was like, oh, of course, it's just a faulty wiring in this building, of course. And so I went outside and I looked and there was no power on anywhere. And I was like, I'm going to have a shower because it's already getting dark and I'm just going to go to bed. They're going to figure the power out somehow. And I have a boiler in this building, which means there's continuous, never-ending hot water. There's no individual hot water tank in my unit. And even if the power had just gone out, which it had, because, you know, I'd maybe fucked around with no power for half an hour before deciding, okay, I'm just going to go to bed and have a shower. I go to have a shower and there's no hot water in the boiler. And I'm like, that's really weird. This power's out. There's no hot water at all, even though there should be. And I'm like running it and it's like ice cold. And I'm like, this is so strange.
Wow.
I'm like listening upstairs because I have, you know, a mirror of the unit that I live in above me. And I'm like, I'm pressing my ear with a cup against the wall, listening for her fridge upstairs, which I can always hear anyway without a cup, but nothing. And I had become convinced the power was out. And then I go and I have this dream. In the dream, I'm dreaming that all of my technology and power aren't working. It's exactly like what's going on. And I'm hearing laughter, like, and this is my dream. As I'm like literally trying to use the computer and make it work, I feel like I'm wearing nitrile gloves with cotton swabs in the tips, and that everything I'm touching is like far away, even though I'm touching it. And that I'm like trying to like click or swipe or type, and it's all like not really happening the way it should. And then in this dream, I hear this other laugh, which reminds me of Nelson from The Simpsons. Ha, ha. And then I wake up, and then I wake up, and I've taken to sleeping with my drapes open because there's been a number of faceless people coming to my door.
I could never.
Oh, you have no idea. It's getting so bizarre over here, including Grimble Grumble introducing himself to me with no face, which I'll get to in a brief second here.
Oh.
So I wake up and the owl, which I'm now just going to call Petunia, because I've said a million times, I think that owl is the fairy.
Yeah.
which is now totally clear to me. And so the Petunia, the owl, is on this little tiny building feature sign outside of my unit, making the noise that Nelson makes, kind of, at
Oh my
me.
gosh.
I know. And I look right at it, and it's looking right at me, and it's kind of going like, ha, 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 like an owl would. And then that's what I wake up from. And I was awake, like I wasn't still dreaming. I woke up to that. I know I was awake. I know I saw the owl. I was looking at it for a long time after it was making that noise at me. It's just like Liz says, like they just stare at you through the window for a long time. And then I wasn't about to go outside. It was fucking the middle of the night. This was bothering me. I could see it because of the street light.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm just looking at it, and it's looking at me, and I'm just looking at it. And I'm not even talking to it at this point. I'm just looking at it. I'm just like, because I'm already so screwed up from like, there's a million and one things, like almost like you're missing barbecue sauce that were going on before this dream. And then before waking up to the owl calling at me outside my window, I pass out and I kind of go back to the dream. And in the dream, this time, this is the same dream where like everything's not working. I go back to the dream, and in the dream, I'm in the dream again. Everything's still not working, and I wake up inside the dream. I'm still dreaming, but I wake up inside the dream. Like it's so hard to explain. I just know.
Oh, I've had. I know exactly what you mean. So.
Yeah. So even though I wasn't sleeping before, when I went back to the dream. I went back to the dream, and all of a sudden I was now sleeping in that same previous dream, and I woke up inside that dream, if that makes any sense. And I tried to flick the light switches, which weren't working. So this is how I know it was the same dream. And in the dream, I go outside and I step through the door of my building, and I look up at the condo above me to see if I can see any other unit lights on. This is all happening in the dream.
Mm-hmm.
This is so just to make sure the sequence is clear for you and the audience, because I know I've just jammed a lot of information. The power goes out when I try to call Danielle. I am totally tripped out because there's no hot water. I can't hear or see power anywhere else. I think it's the whole building. I then go to sleep. I have this weird dream that nothing's working. I wake up, there's an owl outside my window calling to me. I heard what I thought was Nelson laughing. I'm pretty sure that was the owl breaking through my dream. And that's how I know that I was waking up to something real, and also like that I was, coming from a dream. I go back to the dream after falling asleep, just looking at the owl, which is what happened. I was just staring at it, and then I just passed out. You hear this all the time in paranormal encounters. People say they just went back to bed.
Oh yeah, it's very common, honestly, to just see something wild and then just drift back to sleep.
Well, okay, so then I'm feeling better about that, having hear you say that. So then I fall back asleep. I have in my dream a sequence where I wake up, try the lights, come outside and look up to see if there are any lights on, and then I actually wake up, and I try the lights, and I'm like, this is just like my dream, and so I'm like, I'm gonna go outside and do what I did in my dream, and I go outside and I look up at the building, and I hear a noise behind me, and I turn around, and there's a faceless man with a giant staff, and he says to me, "How's it going?" This is exactly what happens. I wake up for real. I click the light switch and I'm like, oh, this is just like my dream. And then I'm still thinking in some weird way. I'm still thinking, oh man, the power's still out. Like BC Hydro hasn't fixed this. The whole building must be pissed off. Everyone's fridges and all their food and
Yeah.
And I'm still thinking this, even though all this unbelievable stuff has happened with the fire alarm talking to me the days before, the power going out the moment I'm trying to call Danielle to talk about it all again. Even though all that's happened, even though I woke up a few hours earlier to an owl out my window hooting at me, I'm still thinking I should just go check the building. And I do. I step outside, and my patio is maybe like 10 foot by 10 foot square, right? And so I step out, I step out the door, and I step forward one or two tile. There's 2 by 2 paving stones, 2 foot by 2 foot paving stones. So I step 1 or 2 forward. I turn around to look up at the building, and I hear a noise behind me, and a guy says, "How's it going?" And I snap around, and there's this man, and so he goes, "I hear this noise." He's like, "How's it going?" It all kind of happens at once. I snap around, and he goes, "Weird, eh?" And I look at him, and he's got like so many open sores on his face that it almost looks like he doesn't really have a face.
I was going to ask what the featureless face looked like.
It was like someone had been picking at open sores to the extent where it was basically like it. I know this sounds utterly gruesome, but it almost looked like eyes and a mouth, and otherwise just a collection of open sores where everything else should be. It was intense. There was very little threading of pink skin between sores that made up a face. It was just intense. Carrying a staff that looks like a polished tree limb, like a wizard would carry. Otherwise, fairly clean, normal-looking clothes, like like trousers and a burgundy kind of sweater. And I'm coming from this dream. I'm looking at this guy who was not there 5 seconds ago.
Yeah.
I walked out facing forward, turned around to face my building, and now he's at my back. And I look at him. I must have given him a look that said, what on dear God's earth is going on, is probably what my look said. And I actually I out loud said to him, man, where did you just come from right now?
Yeah.
And he laughs at me. He's like, and pivots on his stick and walks off over the bridge. And this is all happening at like 5:30 in the morning when the sun is just coming up.
Wow. That's, well, that is one of those fairy times, like when the sun's going down and the sun is coming up.
And then I do come inside, and I have had no power since the night before at 7 p.m. I'm totally like in just almost like your barbecue sauce confusion state. Like, what was that? What on, I have the benefit of a few episodes under my belt since then and a few days sleep and rest. I honestly think that this is what was going on. I think that I did the episode about Petunia. It was becoming clear that she had been channeled by Danielle and was real. She was flexing quite a lot of power by getting into my fire alarms and talking like that. And he was output by it. So he first turfed the audio, and then he was, this is going to sound so out there, but I'm just going with my guts here, right?
Just say it.
He was then doing some sort of like no, James is mine. Like I'm gonna like it almost felt like he was possessive of me and working me up too at the same time. And she was having none of it. And he was like hypnotizing me in a dream or taking me to the fucking fairy space on his terms, and she was fighting back, and then she broke me out of that dream by coming and calling at me. And I looked up the specific call that she was making because it was an owl noise when I woke up, and it's the call they make to ask their young to come back to the nest.
Oh, that's kind of symbolic in a way.
I thought so too after I learned that when I found it online, because I found the call that it sounded like. And then I did go back to bed briefly, back into his hypnotizing dream, woke up, and then he was there physically to greet me. Because I've been speculating about him and talking about him in a roundabout way, and is he real, et cetera, et cetera. And then, he like literally has been hijacking any episode not about him. hijacking my audio settings. And then here's the thing I was teasing about earlier that I said will be a spoiler, but not for anybody, just for you. So get this. So I'm finally putting all this together. Like, yeah, Grimble Grumble is the guy I saw. He was jealous of Petunia being made into a doll by Danielle and getting the glory. So he did all this. And Petunia was like fighting back. And I am the unwitting pawn in a fairy fight inside my condo, basically. So I'm thinking all this. And in a totally unrelated thing, I'm trying to talk to this girl from Australia, Becky B, who makes a type of fairy art that I think you would really appreciate because it's kind of on the darker side of things. And she makes specifically like fairy graves. And they look like a archaeological excavation that has uncovered like a fairy, from 1,000 years ago.
Oh, I might be familiar with those, actually, if it's what I'm thinking.
She's pretty much pioneered them. And so I found her. Well, she's a fan of the show, which is how I found her, because she was commenting around and that got my attention. And then I found her stuff. And so I've been wanting to talk to her. And I've been wanting to talk to her for, a while, like a few weeks, easily, month plus. And I've been sending her messages on Facebook and she's been sending them back. And we haven't been getting each other's messages. And then the other day, I saw her comment on my Facebook post for a recent episode publishing. And I said, Becky, like, I've been trying to message you. And she makes this joke in the comment reply. She said, are the fairies messing with us? Mm-hmm. And so I go back to finally, like, the messenger thread, and it is now finally working. And we're both like, yeah, I sent you messages. And she's like, I sent you messages. Neither of us have them.
Wow.
We do finally get to talk. And all I'm calling Becky to talk about is low-key her fandom and also her art, Mm-hmm. And we start talking, and because when we start talking, I run into these audio problems again. This time, it was so funny. This time, all the messages that she had sent me on Facebook confirming the meeting were disappeared on my end before I go to get on the show. And then later, I sent her back all these voice messages in which I referenced Grimble Grumble, and none of them would play on her computer. Only the ones in which I referenced Grimble Grumble. But at the start of her call with me, the audio doesn't work like it should. I have to reboot. I have to reboot 3 times. This is the other day. And I'm thinking to myself, this is fucking Grimble Grumble again, starting off at the start of Becky B's episode. It's just like I felt like when I was starting yours. And you've just found that skull, so it confirms my feelings are right. And so I'm talking to Becky B, and I tell her a bunch of this Grimble Grumble theory that I have. And she's just being really nice, and she's listening. And then I'm like, then I bring her on, and she's like, can I tell you a few things? And I'm like, sure. She's like, this is going to sound really weird. And I'm like, okay, well, just go ahead and tell me. She's like, last night, my husband and I were standing in our living room talking, and we were standing right in front of the television. It was off, and we were talking, and there's this Lego dinosaur on top of the television. And as we were talking, it was like slow motion. It just tipped over and fell, and my husband reached over and grabbed it. And looked at me, and he was like, what was that? And I said, I guess that was the poltergeist. And she goes, I thought that was really weird, but right now I think it's really, really weird because of what you just told me. And I said, why? And she said, because I'm making this doll right now. Not doll, sorry, that's Danielle. She goes, I'm making this fairy, what does she call them? She calls them an artifact. No, she calls them a fairy specimen. She goes, I'm making this fairy specimen right now. And for the first time ever, and I don't know why, this one is demanding that it had a beard and a hat and a cane. Mm-hmm. And it basically looks just like Grimble Grumble.
Weird.
And so she, for like 5 years, has made nothing but winged fairy specimens and dragons. Uh-huh. And on the eve of, going to talk to me, she's starting to make a new one. And for whatever reason, it's demanding to her in the way that she's intuitively receiving it, that it has to look like a gnome.
Yeah.
And so the way that I look at it is that Grimble Grumble was like, because Danielle asked, hey, does anybody want to come through for the show? He not only got somebody to make him, he got somebody to make him without them knowing it.
Yeah.
He got somebody to make him in Australia. And yet again, like with William and with you just now with this skull, like he's totally blurring the lens of like space and time and distance and precognitive planning and everything, because he knew she was about to come on, so he knocked the Lego dinosaur off just to make sure she got it, that he was there.
Yeah.
And then she's like, you can hear her amazement, much like the amazement when you just found that skull, where she's like, why did I make one with a beard? And then all of a sudden it's clicking to her. That Grimble Grumble, in effect, reached across space and time into her brain in advance of my episode with her to get her to make a physical representation of him too, just to satisfy his jealousy that Petunia's in the real world and he's not.
That is amazing. And I have an odd question for you.
Go ahead. No odd questions here.
Okay, so have you ever left him like a gift or an offering or something?
No, I fucking refuse because I'm not like, I'm just coming to terms with these things being real. I'm not about to get down on my knees and pray to them. You know what I mean? I'm not about offerings at this point. A lot of people have recommended this. I humbly offer this, Brett. The hours and hours and hours of my fucking time he gets is my offering, right? He's on my show. He has Fascinating Fae. I don't need to leave him a cookie on top of it. I really appreciate the tip in the right direction, and it might be the solution I actually need is to appease this guy, not resist him.
Say that you're praying to him whatsoever. It's not like that at all. It's more like a kinship, like feeding the birds.
That's a really good way to put it to me to make it hit home. Well done. Thank you.
How I think about it. They're just, just beings, and you don't have to by any means at all, but maybe it would make him calm down and stop messing with your technology.
You know, it's funny because as you say that, I think, well, do I want that? Because I love how this episode started as another podcast gold in my pocket and you have a new skull. So again, I think it's a gift
Yeah.
at the end of the day. Barbecue sauce. So it's not in your hair. It's nowhere. When you pick up the second chicken nugget as you've now resumed your seated position to continue to eat again, and
I was standing.
Oh, you were
at the
standing,
stove.
okay. And it blops onto your wrist out of nowhere. I just got to be clear. I just have to ask. You didn't have any new sauce on this new chicken nugget, did you? Or was it just...
No, not at all. It fell from an angle that was up on the seat, and it just like hit my hand, the inside of my wrist by the palm of my hand, like with a really hard splat, like something had spit it.
What did you feel emotionally when that all happened, if you can remember anything at all?
So this was maybe like 7 or 8 years ago at this point. So emotionally, I was just stunned. I don't remember. I don't think I was scared at all. I think it was just more like, that was crazy and I have to document this right now. So I wrote it down somewhere, and I try to do that now when stuff happens so I can remember all the little details, because I have a pretty bad memory, so I can forget. And I just remember I wrote it down.
Brett, I'm just going to quickly hit save on what we've said so far so I make sure I have it. Hold on.
Mm-hmm. Hello.
Hey, Brett. How's it going?
Pretty good.
I'm looking at the picture of this skull right now. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's pretty good.
it's amazing that they give gifts.
Yeah. Oh man, right now this is so random, but I'm on this trail in my woods, and this little vole is just like out kind of watching me, like right on the trail that I'm on. This little gray guy. He's very cute. And he's not acting super afraid or curious.
You know, it's a toss-up sometimes between like Vicky, you, Katie, like who I want in my ear the most. I just honestly, when I go to make episodes and I think like, what's it going to unfold like? I think about the voice, first of all. You're so like fun to talk to. And then twice now at the start of our calls, something remarkable is happening during our
You're
call.
right. You're right, man. I'm trying to be quiet because I don't want him to. I don't want to freak him out. But he's. Well, I guess I lost him under some leaves, but that was really cool. He was kind of hanging out, watching me for about 10 seconds.
Man, when you're like vibing right or vibing high, I do notice that the animals can feel it.
Yeah. I love animals anyway, so I welcome it. I want to be all their friends.
This reminds me of something I wanted to tell you. I have been thinking a lot about what I would name a pig if I had a pet pig. And I have settled on the following. If I had a pet pig, she would be a lady pig. And her name would be Pork Bjork.
Oh. Wow.
It's pretty good, eh? Pork Bjork.
Pork.
I could see myself calling it out at the dog park. Pork Bjork. Come on, Pork Bjork.
I mean, my dog and pig are friends. They could get along with other dogs for sure.
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of piggo doggo buddy combos on the internet. It's one of my favorite things to chill out to is unlikely animal buddies.
I think my pig is more friends with my two cats because they are always hanging out together. In fact, I call two of them, or I call my pig and one of my cats twins because they're both kind of gray in color and they have white stripe down the center of their forehead. So those are the twins and they're always together.
This is what I mean when I say it's a delight to talk with you, come what may, fairy stuff or not. Which actually kind of reminds me of something you mentioned earlier in being honest about depression and those experiences. I feel the same way sometimes too, as I've talked about on the show for, reasons related to trauma. But outside of that, it just does sometimes hit for no reason or like seemingly no reason. And I think that the sensitive people in our population, yourself, myself, others, who've come on the show, have a harder time than the average folk because when you do know the magical and when you do have that experience, it can be quite contrasting to find yourself in the kind of real world body, brain, and problems of the third dimension, so.
And that's a really good way to look at it. And I do try to think of it like that because whenever I am in one of those bouts, it's more just like, this is my physical body right now. I know because it's hard for me to describe because at the same time I know like I'm okay and but I'm also not at the same time because my brain won't let me be, if that makes any sense.
It really does. It does because I think the spirit is what knows you're going to be okay, but it's the other stuff that's just not letting it be right now. And I run up against this continuously. One of the only things that does make it better is what you were saying, and that's kind of what I wanted to touch on. It, kind of brought about by what you were sharing. It's like when you're saying the synchronicity storms kind of happen with when you feel that you're lifting from it. Mm-hmm. I noticed that too, especially in this show process. I have to say, like, some of this stuff really gets me almost high,
Yeah. It definitely does that to my brain. It's like a fizzy, like, good feeling, like, oh, I'm onto something now. Yes.
And that can become addictive almost. And like any drug-like experience, one that produces euphoria, fascination, intrigue, good feelings, the contrasting absence of it can be a real letdown.
Oh, it's very apparent when it's not there, or at least I like to tell myself that it is still there. My body isn't capable of experiencing it at that time because I have to focus on surviving. So
I think honestly, you're very wise, and you're putting it so simply that it could almost be missed. But so much of what we're talking about in this show can kind of come back to that idea of these experiences correlating to where you're at, good or bad, and yeah, like we are in possession of a kind of instrument ourselves. We're a type of tuning fork or a type of instrument, and how we are doing can have a lot to do with how these experiences can become available to us or not. Well, I think what I'm trying to get at, which is hopefully useful to everyone listening, and maybe also to you, and maybe even just to myself, it's like I think there's a chance through this program and through other efforts like Claire's, Joe Hickey Hall's, and a few other things that I can look to, not the least of which is you and the community you've built around your art, to remind one another that, yes, this is real in the times when we're feeling cut off from it,
Yep.
Because maybe like I'm feeling overwhelmed by it, but you can bring me back to ground like you did the other day. If you're ever feeling cut off from it, just give your friend Jim a call, and skulls are going to come falling out of the trees on your head, and you're going to be right back to well. But jokes aside,
Yeah, honestly, it's true. It's true. It's like just talking to another human being, even if it's not about fairies. Just honestly talking can help lift some kind of darkness and really can start you back on your path to feeling a little better. So
it's something that you've done for me more than once, being there as like a great friend actually, and just talking to me in a way that I'm like very grateful to have somebody that I can talk to about this stuff, but then also just you specifically, because you do have a way about you that's quite captivating, Brett. So
well, thank you.
yeah, I think you're very intriguing, obviously an incredibly talented artist, and walking around with those types of identity markers is a lot to tangle with. I kind of know it from my own, like I'm a art boat whale captain and a podcast host of this stuff. The act of lifting yourself up, so to speak, into a place where you're leaning into things, it comes with the flip side of a kind of loneliness and a kind of challenge to keep it up. And yeah, I just really admire everything that you do, because there's so much consistency to it above everything else,
Thank you. Very nice.
Yeah. And if I can last 10 years or 15 or more, because you told me earlier you'd become a professional artist in 2009. So if I can go 15 years doing this, then you can tell me I have the same consistency, but not before. So, actually, which brings me, I do mean that, because to make a choice about what you want to do with yourself that is self-directed is the ultimate act of bravery.
Well, thank you. Not enough people actually recognize that, and they just think I sit in my room and create little drawings. And I'm like, no, it's like my life, and I've made it work for me. So
it's an ultimate act of bravery. It's also an incredibly sophisticated win. It's so hard to build a business around art, for one. It's extremely difficult to build anything that is on your own terms and doesn't leave you feeling like you've compromised yourself. I mean, 99.9% of people hate something about what they're doing to make money. That's most people. When I finally figured out I could help people access plant medicine and make money at it, it was like, it took me my entire adult life to figure that out. Everything else had been, fooling myself about what I was meant to be doing.
Yeah.
And not really feeling ever like I was in control of my own destiny. So when I think about you and making art, the following you've built, the way that I, behind the scenes, see your fans reacting to just the idea of you and your art, I'm impressed by you very sincerely. It's very brave. It's not easy to do. And you've done it in a way that, like, as I'm talking to you now, there's just no ego. it's just amazing. It's really great.
I think because I literally can't do anything else. And so I'm just like, I mean, I'm stuck doing this because I can't hold real jobs. Actually, that kind of reminds me of like one of these incredible, possibly fairy related events that came about due to one of my first bouts of severe depression and me realizing that I had to get out of a situation because it was killing my soul. Um, if you would like to hear that story, I can tell it quickly. So I believe I sent you a picture of, it was a picture of myself, but there's an orb in front of my face on my forehead. And that picture was, I don't really like to share a lot of pictures like that because people don't like orbs, but that was a picture from a series of, I think I took 3 pictures that day where I had asked if there was something in my apartment at the time, if it wanted to come forward. Just being very friendly. I wasn't demanding at all. So I took the first picture and I was completely surrounded by orbs and it absolutely terrified me. And this is one of those old digital cameras. So I was just like, I'm not supposed to have this picture. So I deleted it. And I hate that I did that because I don't have picture evidence, but I don't think I'm supposed to. So I took a couple more pictures and I only had that one orb in front of my forehead. And the one picture that remains is that one that I sent you. I don't know where the other one is, but it's lost on an old computer somewhere probably. But when I was living in that apartment, there's something like very oppressive about it. I also had just graduated college and didn't really like, I knew I wanted to do art and I always had been doing that, but I also needed to be able to pay my bills. So I applied to one job and I ended up getting it. And I was like, huh, that was easy, I guess. So I went and started working at this place and it was absolutely miserable and a disgusting environment to work in. Um, I'm like shaking thinking about it because it was so traumatizing. I worked at American Apparel. It was like this clothing store that was kind of popular in like it was gross. Didn't really know anything about it at the time, but I started learning more about how vile um, the CEO was and the things that he would send the employees and emails, and it was like disgusting. And I could not live with it. It was so bad. I would cry in the bathroom like every day. And um, I just remember there was more stuff happening in my life, but that on top of it just like kind of was ruining me. And I sunk into this depression that was just so bad that I quit the job after maybe like 3.5 months of being there. And I like was unable to get out of my bed for a couple more months. It was terrible. And I remember one day, I don't know what even came over me, but I had this feeling of maybe like some kind of hope or something, not to sound cheesy, but I was totally desperate and I was just like, whatever is out there in the universe, if you can just like help me out of this, please, that would be amazing. And then I suddenly, while lying in my bed, I felt this like jolt, like lightning bolt, like hit my body. And I immediately felt like I was myself again. And I don't like telling the story because it's like that is not how you cure depression, people. This is not an advocacy for that. It's not going to work every time, but this happened to me this one time and it was actually really amazing. And um yeah, that was the apartment with the orbs. So
I think it's interesting too that among the orb photos you've sent me was the one of you and your husband getting married, and the orb is at your forehead again, which is really
oh yeah,
interesting.
yeah, that's one of my favorite pictures. It was taken on a 2010 old digital camera and it's the orb is covering both of our foreheads, and it's really amazing. It's kind of hard to see in the picture because it's so old and grainy, but like it's there and it's really neat.
In my opinion, when I look at certain imagery associated with Fae stuff, it's not always about the quality, because sometimes certain things really hit me. Like I feel things from certain imagery. Like when you just sent me that picture of the skull you just found. I mean, it's mostly clear.
Yeah.
It's mostly cleaned off. That's insane.
Yeah.
It's you know what's funny too is the very last person I spoke to is Becky B from Australia, the woman who makes the fairy specimens. She's a macabre fairy artist like yourself. She's also made it work full time. And she was gifted a cat skull as well.
Really?
Yeah. And when I sent her that link, Brett, that I sent you about the meaning of the cat skull, it was almost an identical reaction from her as to how resonant that was.
Yeah. Wow. What is it with cat skulls? Because they're so atypical.
and macabre fairy artists getting them as gifts, no less. Also, Becky B, self-described, she says, I'm a lot like Brett. I have bones and skulls and stuff all over my house.
Wow.
I know.
I need to, like, I feel like I maybe am aware. I'm really bad with keeping up with names and stuff, but I bet if I check out her stuff, I'll be like, oh, heck yeah, I know who this is.
It was a really interesting conversation with Becky because I was honestly, and I guess this just goes to show me I should never make any assumptions, and I have to always learn that in my life. It's one of my biggest stupidities, is I just assume I'm going to know something about something before I go into it. It's because I think of myself as smart, or I've been successful. I guess I just think, oh yeah, I got this. And then it carries on sometimes into what I expect from people. And I always make that mistake. But, so I was expecting Becky B, when I called her, to be like, oh yeah, I've got my own Australian Gwen Agneath, this, that. She, in fact, is very like not sure that she's doing anything close to channeling. She just knows she's been obsessed with fairies all this time. And then like as we're talking, it's dawning on her that she's channeled Grimble Grumble, and like she's been made to follow instructions. And then she's like figuring out almost real time when we're talking that, oh, this means I guess I am channeling, like, which she already knows, right?
Yeah.
But so Grimble Grumble is a gift giver as much as he is a little sneak.
He's just a mischief maker, and the way you described that faceless person is oddly similar to this person that showed up at my house once, which is kind of chilling to me.
Let's go there, please. Can I hear about that? That'll help me.
Yeah, it's definitely not exactly the same, but the main thing that I remember about this guy's face was it was very textured and very, like, maybe it was like acne scars or something, but just covering his entire face, and very, very textured, and kind of how like people describe Sasquatch faces, like a catcher's mitt. But he showed up. Well, I was waiting for my mother-in-law to come pick me up, and somebody knocked at my door, and I was ready to go, and I just assumed it was going to be her standing out at my back door going to pick me up. So I opened the door, not thinking anything, and there was this guy standing there. And I was so caught off guard and horrified because I was home alone and I live in the middle of nowhere, and that's a scary thing. So he just kind of stood there and smiled, and he was like, oh, another truck. 1 second. Sorry. A little loud. He just kind of stood there with this not scary smile, but he was smiling, looking me in the eyes, and said something along the lines of, I sure haven't been out here in a long time. I'd love to have a tour of the barn. And I was like, not right now. Sorry. Waiting for somebody. Or I don't think I told him I was waiting for somebody, but I was like, I actually have to go. I'm sorry. And I just like closed the door because I don't open the door for people I don't know. And Yeah, but my main takeaway was the texture of his face, and he had a short dark beard, and he was wearing like a tan coveralls, and that's all I remember really.
That is such a strange interaction. Why would someone come to your door, knock on it?
Man, I don't know.
Okay, let me tell you more about the other faceless people that have been coming around. Because
Mhm.
that's the one that happened that I'm sure is Grimble Grumble. But these other two, I'm not too sure who they are. The things were starting to get like really weird around the time I had talked to. Let me just go back in my episode chronologue here. Fuck, I'm trying to remember who it was that I had talked to that made me feel super weird afterwards. I'll remember it part of the way through telling this story. But I was going to help Claire with her intro to her podcast, and I was also like, low key, it's been bothering me that Claire's show didn't sound that high quality, and so I needed to give her tips. I just was like, I need to help Claire level up. So I was making an appointment to talk to Claire, and that was why I can place this in time. So it's about 4 weeks ago-ish. Whenever she got her new intro is around the time this happened. It was really, really hot here, and I was sleeping with my door wide open because it's really, really hot, like super hot.
Mhm.
And I have a little 650 square foot box in a condo.
Mhm.
Anyway, there's only like one window that opens and my door that opens. That's it. So if I need airflow, I have to have both open. And so it's dawn. I'm in my bed. I told you I've been keeping my drapes open, and I sleep with my head right at my window, which looks right on my little patio, out onto the waterfall, and it kind of looks onto my patio and at my door because I'm the way my door is. It's a inset a little bit, so I can look right at my door. And I'm lying there, and I hear this noise, which is my gate unlatch, and there's this woman. I wake up, I look, she's coming through my gate. So she's unlatched my gate. She's on my patio now, and she is walking right into my open door. She's already 1 foot in, hand on the side of the thing. And I say, hello. And she stops. And the way that this is, it's kind of hard to explain. Not really. It's like my patio entrance, the door is to the side. And my unit, if you think about a perfect square, there's a tiny little bit that's inset. And so now the door is kind of to the left. And so when I'm in my room looking out the window, I can see the back of this woman as she's going through my door.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. And so I say, hello. And she freezes and she stops. And I said, what are you doing? And she says, I'm just coming to see if anyone's home.
Okay.
And now you got to understand, I have my shoes are outside on the patio. Next to my shoes outside on the patio are my 2 canes. Those are both leaned up against the door. The patio gate is latched and closed, and my door is open. So if you're just walking through the park and you walk past someone's house and you look and you think, oh, is that person's door been left open by accident? You would look and you would see, oh no, there's shoes there and there's a couple of canes.
Yeah.
That person's home. This woman, none of that seems to have been going on. She was coming into my house. And I said to her, I said, like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm just coming to see if anyone was at home. And I said, well, I'm glad you didn't, because that would have really bothered me. And she backs out of the door and without turning to look at me, just sort of says, oh. And then she kind of turns, and then when she turns to look at me, her gray hair is fully obscuring her face in the one moment where she turns around to kind of look at me as she pivots to now leave. And then she goes and she leaves. And then I watch her walk across the bridge. I'd never seen this woman before. And when I was talking with Claire later in the day, giving her this audio tutorial, I asked Claire about it. Claire told me that she interviewed a woman in the UK that had this woman that Claire talks about was in her garden working away, and this woman came up and had a full conversation with her, but never showed her face. And then the woman who was working in the garden leaned down to go do something in the garden, stood up, and the woman that she had been talking to was just gone.
Wow.
Okay, so then that was like, for me, when that happened at dawn in the morning, God, I'm trying to remember whose episode it came afterwards. It'll come to me. That was very much, oh, I remember now. Of course, I'm so silly. That happened after the Birdo Buds episode with Katie.
Oh.
Because I had been falling asleep asking, do Fae show up as real people? Do Fae show up as real people? Then this faceless woman shows up at dawn the next morning.
Yeah.
I tell Claire about it. Claire tells me about the story about another faceless woman she heard about. But then it goes on. So that all happens. Then there's the woman who mysteriously appears out of the river that I talk about in Liz's episode.
Yeah.
That was more confirmation that humans-sized Fae are just popping out of the portal.
Not gonna lie, that lady's energy sounds like something I would be caught doing.
Me too. You should hear me talk to the animals around here. It's like, yeah, I just talk to them. Like, I'll tell you, I'll do it exactly. I go like, hello, hello, hello. When I see like anything, I'll just be like, hello there. What did I see today? I saw a slug, and I was like, hello, Mr. Sluggo, hello. How was your 700 million years of evolution to come cruise past me? How was that, you know?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. I used to protest logging, and like I've talked about, and when you're way, way out there where there's no human interference, I would wake up in the morning and you can literally hear slugs munching on the lettuce and the carrots and stuff that had fallen, you know, around the cook station.
Yeah.
And you get up to next to them, and the sound of a slug munching on a piece of lettuce he found is fucking adorable. It's just like, and you can really hear it when there's no other sounds. Anyway, I do love arthropods and snails and slugs so much. People think they're bugs, but they're really small animals that move very, 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 very slowly. So treat them with the respect they deserve, and don't squish them or put salt on them.
No.
Ever.
No, never.
No. Plus, they are obviously fairies and forest protectors in their own right. So, you know, all these little creatures, like, people are like, oh, fairies are so mystical and weird. All the real things are mystical and weird enough, you know?
Absolutely. You have to find the magic in the real world. And, you know, that's where the fairies are. So
if you find it in the real world first, the fairies are going to find you because they can see that you're finding the magic in the real.
Exactly.
And then that line starts to blend, and then next thing you know, you got Grimble Grumble coming to your door. But I'll tell you the teaser of the last faceless man. I talked to this guy named Drake, and it's so funny because it was getting to the point, like, where what just happened when you and I started to talk, where something remarkable happened, and because I had like talked with Emma already at that point, and so because Emma's cards go missing at the beginning of our conversation to start with, and then again at the end, they actually go missing in the beginning, get put back in the box, then as though to just like really double down on his power of moving stuff, he then switches them and puts them back in the box at the end of the episode. Which is crazy. And so I'm saying to Drake, I say, hey man, like, watch out and look out for anything strange happening at the start of this episode. And he's like, ha 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 ha. So we get into it, and he starts talking, and he says, so-and-so this thing, and I'm pretty sure that was a fae. And as soon as he says the word that was a fae, there's a man at my door.
Ew.
And just to paint the picture here, I have a 650 square foot condo. The main room that you step into, which is the only way in and out of here, is maybe like 20 by 10. That's kind of the living room / kitchen room, right? And even that has the kitchen on one end of it. So it's really just one space. And where I'm lying down, this door is to my right, maybe 8 feet away, and kind of to my feet, right? So I'm lying here and I'm talking to Drake, and all of a sudden at my door I hear, hello? I have this all on audio.
Oh my gosh.
So I snap up and I said, hello? And this is all on audio. It'll be in Drake's episode. And I'm like, hello? And there's this guy with long gray hair obscuring the front of his face,
Uh-huh.
pouring blood everywhere.
Oh.
And he's like, it's kind of an emergency. And I get up. So I've like just been startled from lying down. I get up, I go over. I'm now standing pretty much, quote unquote, face to face with this guy. And I say, what kind of emergency? And he says, just look at it's so weird. I say, what kind of emergency? Do you need me to call the cops? Do you need me to call you an ambulance? What do you need? What kind of emergency? And then he kind of like pauses. He goes, just look at my face right now. But as he says this to me, he is not showing me his face whatsoever.
Oh my gosh. What in the world is happening?
You're asking me. I'm like, I said, what? I actually say something to the effect of like, what do you need? And he's like, he pauses again a little bit, and I'm watching this guy like really bleeding and not showing me his face. And he says to me, I need your help protecting someone from something right now.
Oh man.
And I say to him, I can't fucking help you with that at all. Cause I'm like, and he kind of like turns around and he starts to stumble off of my patio, trailing blood behind him. And I'm like, this is the part that really fucks me up. But all of this stuff, I'm so glad I get to tell someone about.
Yeah.
So, and now and this is all like while I'm making episodes, right? Everybody, for the record, this is pretty much happening when I start episode processes.
While recording.
Yeah. All the time now, it seems. And so I turn briefly, because I'm having this whole conversation at the door with this guy. I have it on audio because I never stopped recording, and my mic is good, so it picked up what was going on in the room. But I've left Drake on the other end, wondering probably what the hell's happening. So I turn back in towards my room, and I yell at my mic, Drake, I'm sorry, I gotta go help this guy. He's got blood everywhere. I'll call you back. I turn around. I haven't left where I'm standing. All I've done is turn around and kind of yell towards the mic so that I feel like Drake can hear me. And then I've turned back, pivoting on my feet. Guy is now, I can see the guy out my window going left, just like, it's so weird, but just in the same direction that the cop was going after he appeared in the Katie episode with the birds in the bushes.
Yeah.
And so I go to follow him because I'm actually fairly concerned about this guy because of the amount of blood.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I got to step over all this blood. I got to watch my step. And so I go to do that, and there's no blood.
Wow.
None. And I'm looking at that for a second, and I'm letting that register. And I'm like, I don't know. And then I just go outside because I want to get a look at this guy again. And I go outside and I turn the corner, and he's gone. He's gone. My neighbor, who's this Danish guy, one unit over, is at his patio gate talking to two French girls, giving them directions. Mm-hmm. And I say to him and the two French girls, did you just see that guy? And they look at me like, what? No? Like, and he's Danish and they're French. And so, but like, I'm just going to say it. I feel like in the 4 to 8 seconds that it took me to register, wait, there's no blood, and then step outside and go around the corner, he turned into two French girls and started to ask for directions from my Danish neighbor.
Wow.
Because those girls weren't there a second ago. They were not, when I was asking, like, they would have been who would have saw him most because they were on the grass where he had just walked past. Mm-hmm. He was walking in their direction towards them, within 4 feet of them, to left or right, the last moment I saw him. And when I got around the corner and I saw my Danish neighbor and these two girls, it was the moment that I came around the corner to see them was they had just whipped out their phone. It looked like they had just caught his attention a second ago.
Yeah. Wow.
I know. And then I came back inside and I told Drake all about that, and he was like, that's so weird. And then he goes on to tell me, he's like, while that was all happening, this cat just came out of nowhere towards me and is now sitting in front of me rolling around.
Of course. There's a cat in here too.
And I said, okay, well, you keep an eye on that cat, Drake. I'll keep an eye on the faceless people at my door. That's 3 faceless people. The faceless woman at dawn, the faceless guy with bleeding everywhere who doesn't really exist and has no blood trail, and Grimble Grumble at dawn as well. By the way,
Yeah.
incidentally, I started my recording process with Drake at dusk, give or take.
Wow.
I know.
And where I'm at right now, the sun is starting to set and the woods are starting to look very enchanted because the sun is beaming through just perfectly at this kind of lower angle. And so who's to say what could happen within these next several minutes?
Well, let's capture that enchanting energy and talk about your book and your art and this prize pack a little bit, which is why I've brought you back here today, among other things. So for everyone listening, one of the ways that I'm promoting the show is I'm trying to, and in Brett's case, she's making it impossible, support some of the artists that have come on the show financially by buying their work in order to then just give it away. Brett is making it impossible because she's awesome and gracious. And originally, actually, Brett reached out to me to offer to give me one of her books, One Foot in the Green. Do I have that right?
Yeah, One Foot in the Green.
Awesome. Yeah. And so I will lovingly accept that book, as I've told you. The more I look at your art, the more I realize I want to look at it for a long time on a big page in front of me, not on a computer screen.
Yeah, definitely a different feel when you have it physically in your hands. That's why I wanted to make a book in the first place.
Your work is so intricate, it needs time to be received by the eye, the mind, and the soul. And in the light of everything we've talked about, I will say again, I do place you in that category of people who are channeling the Fae, almost like a type of tech. And so winning one of your books is an extremely awesome prize for that reason, but also they're limited edition and there pretty much aren't anymore. So these are very rare back copies that Brett has reserved and been so awesome as to make available for Fascinating Fae fans to win. So why don't you tell us more about your book process? When did that come out? I'm curious, just to start, if that would be okay.
Let's see. Okay, I started really wanting to create a book like this in around 2016, I think it was. So that's about when the first several drawings were made, and I had made 2 smaller, way smaller versions of the book, more like a zine kind of thing. And during 2020 COVID times, I was like, I've been putting this off for a while, but I've been making all of these drawings for this book with the intentions of creating like a large bestiary style book full of fairies and cryptids. And there's a lot of overlap. It's not just purely fairies, because I personally do think there's a lot of overlap in these worlds anyway. But I think I really started getting serious about compiling it in 2020. And then I think I finished it, I self-published in 2021. Man, I have a bad memory, and I'm sitting in the woods right now. Otherwise, I would look at the book and see the dates that I have put in it. But yeah, so I believe it was 2021 when it was finally available to the public. And now I am officially completely sold out. I only have like a very small stack for like the giveaway with you, and that's really it. I don't have many left.
What a privilege to add those to the possibly perfect prize pack for that reason. And again, like Brett, as I cruise along on this surfboard ride, because I did used to be a surfer before I got laid out, and it reminds me a lot of trying to do that, just waiting for like these ethereal, lumps of water that you're looking for. But when you find the right one and you get on it, you really know it. Having you participate as a guest, first of all, on the show, and then now ultimately coming to help, boost the show really means a lot to me. And
Yeah, no problem.
it's been cool to cruise on past you on this ride. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, for sure.
it's like if you had asked me like, oh, would I be talking to like a ooky spooky girl from the Midwest about fairies like a few years ago, the answer would have been no.
Not what?
I have a kind of special question for you that I'll reserve to ask now. I've been hanging on to this question.
Mhm.
You have inspired the giveaway date, October 31st.
Aha. Cool.
This is because, among the other many ooky spooky things about Brett, she's born on Halloween.
Yes, I was.
And so that inspired me to be like, well, Halloween is the fairy Christmas, if you really, want to. And, like if the Fae are giving you gifts, maybe they gave humanity a gift in the form of you on Halloween by dropping you off with the stork on that day. But where I'm going with this is the way that I'm going to conduct the draw for this possibly perfect prize pack to win these prizes is pretty simple. I just want people to put a comment review on Spotify for the show. You can do that only if you have a telephone app download of Spotify, apparently. And then you can put a comment on any episode, or you can put a comment on Apple for the show. Or you can email me a comment if you want. You can do all those different things. What was my thought going to be? Fuck, hold on. I'm going to edit this. What were we just talking about?
Reviews for the prize.
Yeah. Maybe I didn't lose my thought so much as I just was... Okay, I'm going to do that one more time for the editing process.
Go for
it. So if you don't want to do either of those two things with an app or Apple or Spotify, you can email me a review and we'll put them up. The way that I'm going to conduct this draw, Brett, and this is what I was hoping to ask you to see if you'd be willing to participate with me, is I'm going to basically take all the reviews that exist, put them up on my website, which is, if you go to my website reviews, they're looking pretty great these days. And then on October 31st, I'm just going to treat every review that's up there as an entry. Before the 31st, put all those names of people that have written reviews that are up there into a spreadsheet. And then I'm going to print it all out. And maybe I was going to ask, would you be the person who does the draw?
For sure. I can try. I can.
Cool. So, but in the day before kind of thing, we'll have a cutoff for entry probably the day before and do the draw on the 31st. I'll just get you like a spreadsheet with all the names in it, and it'll probably mean you print it out and chop it all up and throw them in a hat, basically.
I can totally do that. And I can dress up like a really spooky fairy too.
Oh my God. And then if you could do it if you do it, well, I was thinking I'll call you to do it for a show, we'll do the draw for a little mini episode.
Sure.
But if you actually want to do something, with film, I've noticed, I've got to say that your Instagram shit is like fucking hilarious. The one where you're like, a part of my Halloween costume has arrived and I've decided it's just daily casual wear. That one's good. Yeah. Also, just like the look on your face when you're like, I'm not saying it's Phalians, but it's Phalians.
Oh my gosh. I made that so long ago. And I'm proud of that one.
I would be too. That's got like a ton of likes. And it's just, when I saw that, it actually inspired me to do that little David Attenborough thing about Phalians for Katie's episode was actually inspired by seeing you
Amazing.
with your like curls exploding everywhere saying, I'm not saying it's Phalians, but it's Phalians. So anyway, everybody, do your part for Fascinating Fae. Share the show with somebody who deserves to learn about this mystical world in this format, and let them enter by simply sharing their love and appreciation for Brett, for the show. I mean, you don't have to comment about me. You can comment about guests. You can comment, but whatever you want, it's still going to get you in the draw. It's really just about showing anybody new who's sniffing around the Fascinating Fae rabbit hole. Oh, look, there's a lot of people already here. A lot of people are getting enjoyment, value, and fascination out of this jam. You know, it's the simple stuff. You just want people to join the party. So, well, Brett, as we move to, let you go here out of respect for your time and the audience's time on this epic second conversation with Brett Manning. The Instagram, by the way, Brett Manning Art, the penmanship and the overall aesthetic feel of your art is very transportative. I look at your stuff long enough and I start to get taken away.
Amazing. That makes me happy.
That's really how I feel. And I start to really, I don't know. Your work is really quite something, Brett. And I would like everybody who listens to definitely go check it out. I got no shame pointing people over towards your stuff. So
You've had a lot of really, really good, talented artists on your show, though. So I want to shout out to all those folks as well. They're awesome. I've befriended many of them. So thank you for that.
Oh, honestly, thanks for acknowledging that in turn. I feel like I could probably just, never stop talking, acknowledging all the people who are definitely weird, mystical, talented, blowing my mind that have come around this show. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Also, a ton of really powerful women that I'm happy to say I know and get to know on this level.
Yeah.
That's a real treat for me, and it's good. It reminds me of all the things that I already know to be true about women as a straight white guy, which is that they're way more powerful, mystical, and to be revered than is going on. So seeing that women, generally speaking, and I'm not trying to generalize too much around this topic, but seeing that women do understand this a lot better and a lot more intuitively than men is a truth that I'll definitely speak to. And so, I get a lot of privileges being the Fascinating Fae host, but not the least of which is getting to talk with incredible women about their passions around this topic matter. So,
yeah, thank you.
I always ask this, even though I've already asked you before, and you don't have the benefit of your list of questions, list of answers, but
I was prepared.
That's still to this day my hands down favorite answer to the question of what are fairies. But I'll ask you in a slightly different way today, since I've already asked you once before. So if fairies are what we think they are, and I think you and I are pretty close to our agreement on a lot of the stuff, what do you think we are in that mix is my question. And of course, no wrong answer or no right answer, but in the idea of a fairy style talk, what are we in that mix, in your opinion, Brett?
This kind of reminds me of something that I recently wrote for the companion book I'm working on. So more or less, I like to think of fairies as the soul of the world, and we're more like the blood. Think of the earth as a living entity, and we are the people, the blood of the earth, living here tangibly. But then there's the fairies that are still part of the earth, but they're the soul. So I wrote it out so much more eloquently in my book, or for my rough draft, but that's basically what I was saying, I think.
I think that's a really great answer. And, I've only been made to ask the question, what am I? Who are we? More and more by doing this show, not less and less, which is why I feel I can ask you to here tonight. So thanks for entertaining me. And, We've already asked you what you think fairies are, and you've delivered such a bomb answer that I couldn't possibly make you do it again. I'm going to do maybe just a brief bit of housekeeping, and then I'll let you have some additional last words. What do they say? Famous last words twice, I guess, here tonight. So think about those. Let the forest maybe come through to you. And yeah, so I can hear it in the background too, by the way, the chirping bird just there, the other bird that was
Chirp, chirp.
calling.
Yes. Yeah, there's a bunch of blue jays.
Yeah, I was just going to say, thanks for bringing the sounds of the woods into the conversation tonight.
For sure, yeah.
A lot of times people listening might not have those sounds to hear. And so that can be pretty magical in and of itself. Danielle was bringing some pretty great sounds in through one of her calls recently too. But yeah, so for the audience listening, you've been listening to a bonus episode of Fascinating Fae here tonight, but more or less it's taken the format of a full one with that skull at the beginning. So I'll probably drop it into full episode format. Though they are meant to be, bonus episodes, because I am trying to keep promoting the show and the episode process somewhat separate, just so that the episodes live on more like pieces of art, inspired, of course, by all these beautiful artists I keep getting to talk to. I feel like I want to do art too. So yeah, but this one is, again, possibly perfect prize pack. Just enter to win, and our esteemed guest Brett Manning will be doing the draw, it sounds like. So thanks again for confirming that you'd be willing to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds fun.
So we've got a birthday girl doing the draw on Halloween, her birthday. How much more fairy magic can you pack into one contest? I don't know. If you want to find out more about that stuff and, pick my brain about anything else for that matter, encounters@fascinatingfae.com is my email address. The website is fascinatingfae.com, and all of the socials are at Fascinating Fae. If you want to come hang around and join some of the conversations that are taking place, probably the best place, honestly, for that to happen is the Fascinating Fae fan family by Fairy Finder, a group generously created by one of my former guests, Alex, from the Fairy Finder episode. You're going to find some super fans and people that like to speculate and just hang out with one another over there. And so if that's something that you want to do after listening to these episodes, I encourage you to go check that out. I think that's pretty much it, other than just to say that on behalf of all of our human, non-human skull gifting audio messing listeners here to Fascinating Fae tonight, a super ooky spooky big thanks to Brett for coming on the show once again. Brett, I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no problem. It was fun.
Totally fun. Thank you for that excitement on the record of finding that skull as you sat up.
Oh my, it's unreal that happened.
It was put at your back, it really feels like, while you were sitting there.
Yeah, this is so cool. I'm still holding it. I've been holding it pretty much this whole time.
Well, in honor of all of that, a really big thanks to the non-human part of the listenership and the human listeners again for being here at Fascinating Fae. Brett, with that raccoon skull gift in your hand, what are your final words here tonight? I'm curious.
Oh my gosh. I wasn't even thinking about final words. I was just listening to you. Just chirp chirp chirp, squeak squeak. There we go. Enough said.
I live up on Christmas Ave where the music's on till the night has passed me another one. It doesn't matter if you missed your cab, we'll be picking you up and taking you back to the manor, old Middle Beach Manor. And the rain might fall on this roof, but we're keeping it warm inside. Yeah, right. The pain of being human fades when the summer sun arrives in the summer of 2009. I got a friend, his name's Macaulay. He's a jolly Aussie, lives next to Posse in the pigsty. Then there's Patty C, broke every day. Life's giving lemons, but he's making lemonade, yeah. You camming right in the bromance, you're keeping the love locked down. Cam's a trendy, cool cat, Rod's the weirdest guy around. Yeah, he's the weirdest motherfucker around. Connor rolling spliffs, Kevin Fence crossing, drinking Lucky Locker with Mo and Dallas Dawson. Yo, Kevin Smith, call Uncle Steve, ask him if he wants to sponsor Middle Beach, yeah. The rain might fall on this roof, but we're keeping it warm inside. The pain of being human fades when the summer sun arrives. In the summer of 2009. Then there's Carrie Lee, you know I'm a man. She does electric feel with a friend of Van, they're getting too drunk. And Darian and Sylv with the art attack. And don't forget old Megan past the whack, what? We love all friends and we're having a ball. And don't forget Ian James Matherall, yeah. The rain might fall on this roof, but we're keeping it warm inside. The pain of being human fades when the summer sun arrives. In the summer of 2009. And the rain might fall on this roof, but we're keeping it warm inside. And the pain of being human fades when the summer sun arrives. In the summer of 2009. I lived up on Christmas Ave where the music's on till the night has passed me another one. It didn't matter if you missed your gap, we'd be picking you up and taking you back to the manor, old Middle Beach Manor, Christmas Avenue, Middle Beach Manor, Christmas Ave. I lived up on Christmas Ave.
Thanks, Grimble Grumble. Stay out of my house.
Grimble Grumble. The river, isn't it good? Look at the sky, look at the river, isn't it good? Grimble Grumble, look at the sky, look at the river, isn't it good? Isn't it good? Isn't Grimble Grumble, I want Grimble Grumble, I want Grimble Grumble, I want Grimble Grumble. I want to tell you a story about a little man, if I can, a gnome named amidst the grass, fresh air at last. Winding, dining, biding his time. Look at the sky, look at the river, isn't it good? Look at the sky, look at the river, isn't it good? Winding, finding places to go, 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 go. Crimple, crumble. A gnome named Grimble Crumble, and little gnomes stay in their homes. Little gnomes stay in their homes. A gnome named Grimble Crumble. Grimble Crumble.
We've definitely transitioned into like a more fairy, spooky time. And it's kind of evident actually, now that you mentioned it. Yeah, you're welcome for the nightmares. You should have seen this faceless guy. He had long, white, stringy, dirty hair in front of his face, and he's asking me to look at his face while not showing me his face. It's the strangest thing. And as I'm sending that fucking recording to you, I hear I hear this rustling outside. So I turn over and I look, and there's a raccoon at the fucking door. Oh, wait, I've got it. It's a skull. Synchronicity storm. But there's a raccoon skull that just got given to you, and I have never seen a raccoon ever around this building. It's the one animal I haven't seen here. And it just came to my fucking door. So I don't know, Brett. I mean, spooky, cool as can be, if you ask me. I have to stop thinking about Fascinating Fae episodes like I just forced myself to do online grocery ordering because I do have to eat and I'm a human being. But it's hard to put this stuff down. It's totally hard to put it down. It's I really appreciate having you to commiserate with all this stuff on and share in these weird synchronicity storm experiences with. Today is one for the books. It just keeps getting better and better, in my honest opinion.